If what you want is real, relevant hunting, you are in the right place. With moderator Josh Miller, owner of Triple Point Outdoors, co-hosts Kevin Cook, owner of the Outdoor Pro Shop, and Brian Keitlinger, athlete and creator of Left in the Field Outdoors. Welcome to the Reinvent the Hunt podcast.
Hey, everybody, I want to welcome you back to the Reinvent the Hunt podcast. This is episode 6 already, and we have a great show tonight. We're excited to present Rare Breed Taxidermy from Perrysville, Ohio. We have Zach Harris, the owner, here with us, and of course, the usual suspects, Brian Keitlinger from Left in the Outdoors in PA. We've got Kevin Cook down there in Maryland, and of course, I'm Josh Miller from Triple Point Outdoors here in Ohio. Of course, Kevin, you're close to the big bridge collapse and the unfortunate cargo ship incident this week here, and obviously want to offer condolences to everybody connected to that, the people that perished in the accident, and of course, the overall situation.
Yeah, we just want to continue to pray for everybody involved, all the families, the people that are still missing, and it's just a really tragic situation.
Absolutely. I finally got the Spy Point rolling out for turkeys tonight at one of my dad's place, and they've had like 50 coming in at a time. It's like, to my knowledge, the only place in Ohio where that many turkeys congregate in one place. And I have no idea why there's many wild turkeys there, because everywhere else I go, there's none. But there's like, 6, 7, 8 toms at a time chasing each other around. So I threw the Spy Point up, and I said, Dad, let's get some good pics and some videos of these things out there running around chasing each other. It's that time of year where hopefully the weather warms up and they start going crazy, because they'll even like come up to my dad's basement window and garage and just stab it, just kick it and peck it and go crazy and see themselves. And it's like, dog going nuts in the mirror. So that's pretty exciting to get that out tonight. I want to welcome Zach from Rare Breed Taxidermy. This is kind of a new thing for us to have a taxidermist on, but obviously at the other end of the hunt, then you want to preserve that trophy and that memory of a lifetime. So Zach, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Welcome. Good to
definitely want to have you on and talk about, the whole process of taxidermy, kind of how you got into it, what prompted you to want to do this business, how you do it so successfully with, I know, your explosion of interest and numbers your way. I know you're our own personal taxidermist from Triple Point here. We have you doing all of our deer and do an awesome job. So like, what got you into this and what, the why?
I've always grown up hunting, and I think it was I would say it's close to 10 years now. I started dabbling in it just because honestly it saves some money doing it myself. But the last haul that I took to a local taxidermist here in Perrysville too, I grew up with his son, and he did all mine growing up, and going in to his shop, I just wanted to kind of recreate that in my shop, just that kind of awe, like you're stepping into something, like stuff you don't see all the time. You're waiting to see all year until you get in there to shoot something and finally get to take it in there. But the last bit I took to him was like an elk, like a half body bear, 2 deer, just from one season. And I'm like, man, I can't afford to do this every year.
Yeah.
So I just started tinkering, and my old garage is through that wall there, just a little 2-car garage that I started in, and it was pretty much trial and error. It probably wasn't the best way to start out, but I bought like $100 set of DVDs showing you the bare minimum. And really 10 years ago, there wasn't much info out there like it is today. Like, get on YouTube and you pretty much start up your own gig now. It's start to finish in the palm of your hand. Really. Yeah, it's been 4th year full time now. So I built this shop 4 years ago, same year 3.5 years ago, same year my daughter was born. And the biggest thing was with having her, and I was in the carpenter still, driving an hour and a half or so every day, just one way to work, and being gone 14 hours a day or so. And it's like, man, I don't want to be that kind of parent that's gone for 40, 50, 60 hours a week and get to see my kid 1 or 2 hours a week, tuck them in bed. And if I have enough tanned, I usually put 2 shoulder mounts together a day, and it's a pretty good 8 to 10 hour day. And get to go in, work a few hours until my kids wake up, go in, feed them breakfast, and then come back out, work a few hours, go in, eat lunch with them. They are constantly in and out of here. My shop's connected right to my house, so they're in and out of here all day.
That's nice. Yeah, it's nice to have that close connection.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know, going from what I used to do to running Triple Point, being in teaching and now doing this, I understand and respect what you're saying. You know,
Yeah.
you try to figure out that balance in life, that moderation of how long am I gone at work versus how much time with my family do I have, and then sometimes the opposite is true. You stay at home all the time, you drive you the nuts too, so you got to get out and go hunting more. So at least you get you more time too. You know, get out and enjoy the outdoors and also spend time with your kids.
It's a delicate balance. Sure
Yeah.
is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it seems like I'm just trying to find reasons throughout the week to take a break and either just go to the gas station or bike ride or anything, go outside, get out of the shop every now and again now, but it's a pretty good gig now.
Totally understand that. What are your numbers wise? Like what happened to your business for the past, say 4 years? You said you started. How many deer do you do a year versus elk or any other animal?
Really, well, deer mostly being in Ohio. I actually didn't get any elk in this year. I usually get a handful, just a handful of guys I know that go out west and stuff. But yeah, it wasn't really that great for like Western game stuff. I got a lot of bears this year, but starting in my other garage, I would do, I don't know, like 30 or so, doing my own, doing my buddies, and doing them for damn near nothing, cost materials. I just needed the reps to get some in and get used to figuring some things out. And that was probably a good 1,000 or so deer heads later. It's going pretty good.
Wow.
But I think last year I was in the mid 160s to 170, I think, for shoulder mounts. And I mean, that was like total jobs. I had a lot of coyotes and beavers, believe it or not. Like a few, I think 3 or 4 of them were like 60 pounders and more.
Wow.
Like 68, I think, was the most. And they're all local, just like Belleville, Butler, I think, were the few of them were. But yeah, odd stuff like that. But I think this year I was kind of hoping, because usually I get caught up right as deer season or right as bow season's starting. And I get a nice little break to get my hunting in, and I didn't really get that this year. I barely got caught up with a lot of the spring bears and stuff. I was, because really, I have like a working year. I have a good solid 10 months, I would say, and 2 months during the season. It's just people constantly coming in and dropping off heads and skinning heads out every day. So during November and October, not so much, but November, December, I don't get much done like mounting wise, but I'll do a handful a week compared to like now I'll do eight to 10 on a really good week, shorter mount wise.
Brian and Kevin, did you guys get your deer mounted this year that you got or not?
Yeah, it's at the taxidermist now.
You got a mount, shoulder mounted?
Yep.
Brian, you did too?
Yeah, and I got a buddy that I met at church, and we got to talking the one time, this was a few years back, and I jokingly asked him, said, "Hey, could I come down and help you at your taxidermy shop?" 5 years later, I'm still going down once, twice a week. I get to have a good time. I do a lot of the grunt work, a lot of the cleaning up the capes. We tan all our own stuff in house, so you can have a better, faster turnaround time. He did allow me to mount my own deer like the second year I was in. He walked me through the whole process.
That's cool.
I think he thought I wanted to do tag. I'm like, no, I just enjoy helping. So I know what Zach's talking about. I'll get people show up in my driveway, throughout hunting season, be like, "Hey, you cape this deer out for me?" I'm like, "Yep, whatever." Throw it up on the hoist and cape it out. And I enjoy doing it. I have a blast doing it. I like to see it from start to finish.
Yeah.
How everything turns out, because I mean, I don't have an artistic eye, and you have to have an artistic eye to just make everything pop to be great. So yeah, I like to do the grunt work. I enjoy it.
I think you said a lot there too. You said just the factor of the hangout factor. Honestly, like I as a guy, Zach, I know when I come to your shop, man, I love, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I mean, there's not a lot that gets a middle-aged dad excited, but walking into a taxidermy shop with giant mouths, we're like, like the blood level, the blood pressure goes up, the heart rates, and get to see what other people are shooting. Half the time makes you feel bad because you're like, man, that thing's like twice the size of my deer I shot. But it's like, just a character, where they're from. Like I know Zach, every time I walk in your shop, I'm interested in seeing like what's in the area. And then also you kind of get to see some genetics that's parallel too a lot of times.
Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's amazing just the variety of different, just the capes and everything, how different every deer is different. Like the hair patterns, coloring, everything is the variety of like different colored capes and stuff. It's kind of crazy. And you don't realize that until you skin, a couple hundred of them one year, and it's like, wow, there's a lot of different
I'll bet. Yeah.
variety in all these capes and different stuff. But
It's like half the battle for me is like, like talking to my wife this year with the bucks you got, you have now. And I'm like, well, what pose do you want? What form are you going to choose? It's like, I personally, I like the forms where the antlers are more upright instead of kind of back. Like, so,
That
I
way
don't
you
know.
see them more.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a little more predominant. I think it looks a little nicer. And so, tip back, but would you say, Zach, like a more focused, posture or mount that people get versus others? Is there something? Is it like house color or something trending? Yeah,
Full sneak.
yeah,
full
yeah,
sneak.
They,
Full sneak.
they fit everywhere.
full sneak has been happening the last few years. Yeah.
Isn't that what she chose? I think she chose full sneak.
Offset
Yeah,
shoulder. Full
I
sneak.
think, yeah, full sneak.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I mean, I try and use Ohio Taxidermy as much as I can, and they got quite a bit of different forms. But then you get a lot of people, but it seems like every other person has a Mackenzie catalog they come in with, and it's like, oh God.
Yeah. That's something.
I'm glad I'm not the only
They have
one.
good forms that I like to order, and then some of them I don't care for, but that's just personal preference, really. But
Yeah. Well, that one behind your back left shoulder there, it's like it's horizontal. It's coming off the wall. That's a mount I think I chose last year was something totally different for me. That first buck I shot with Clovis.
yeah,
And it's like and I like it. It's a lot. People ask me all the time, like, how's that hang on the wall? It's like 3D coming out,
yeah,
Pedestal.
Different type mount.
Wall pedestal.
Is that called a wall pedestal?
Wall
Yeah,
pedestal.
so I think that's an OTS or Ohio Taxidermy.
That
form.
one right there. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, they're pretty good looking forms. I think that's the one I did. I did that one, the same form for my wife's deer she shot this year.
It's really cool. Yeah, it's a different kind of mount. It's really cool looking.
Yeah.
What's the most difficult mount you've ever done in your life? What's the hardest thing you do?
Really, I don't like difficult wise. Like really bears. It's a lot of sewing. Like I'm getting ready to do I think they were all from Manitoba, somewhere up in Canada. It wasn't Quebec, but it was a whole group of guys that brought them in. I think they brought in 5 or 6 bears and all half body mounts. And I've been putting them off because it's just so much. My shop gets covered in bear grease for that week or so. I'm flushing bears and sewing them up and everything and getting them out of the tan. But the last one, I've been saving it for the last bit of the bears. It'll be the biggest full body I've done. The form, they had no idea what it weighed when they shot it. They didn't have a scale up there, and I think just by the measurements, it's either 5 or 550, just a solid black bear.
Jeez,
So it'd be pretty cool.
That's a big bear.
Yeah,
that's something. Kevin, what do you want to know? What are you thinking down there? I see you pondering.
Yeah, a bunch of different things. Now, I got mine this year mounted in a full sneak, but I got it with its like mouth open, like it's grunting, because that's how it came in when I shot it. So I tried to do something a little different. I try to like picture how they were when they were coming in or when I shot to see which mount I want to do.
That's really cool. Different and cool. I like that.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that likes to hang out at the taxidermy too.
Yeah, I'm honestly, it's just cool. I mean, it's like a little pick me up in the middle of your week. You get to hang out and see what Zach's got in there and just talk. Talk deer. And he probably wants to kick me out with all this. If my wife wasn't there, I'd probably be there 3 hours talking to him. I always feel
right. Yeah, I use Jailbreak Taxidermy out of Severn, and they're just great. Just great people there, and I can just sit there and talk for hours with them.
Absolutely.
It happens probably once or twice a week. I just get random people stopping in, people that don't even bring me deer or anything. Just like, yeah, I just want to stop out and check out your shop. I'm like, okay. I had a random guy I've never met before today. He was here for 3.5 hours.
Wow.
Just picking my ear. He helps out at another taxidermist up in, it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours away. just out and about and stop by. I'm like, yeah, you can shoot the shit and hang out, I guess. I'm gonna
Yeah, that's
keep
cool. Yeah, right. Yeah. That's probably a hard balance sometimes too. You want to, you talk and converse, but get your work done as well. And I get that. You're on
Right.
the clock, so to speak. So
Yeah, this time of year I don't get like a ton of visitors anyway, so it's a nice little treat when people, because really the only people stopping in are picking up shoulder mounts or guys that pick their racks up to go get them scored and stuff like that. But
okay, yeah, sure. What do you suggest for a guy or gal bringing a deer in as far as that post harvest? What's the best way to make sure things are preserved and kept well? What do you suggest a hunter to do?
keep it dry and cool. That's the biggest thing. Cape wise, I usually send out a video at least, or there's a Facebook post I usually post once or twice before season just to get it out there, or I save it in my phone. But it's really just most of the people. My biggest pet peeve when it's like people that do it themselves, but like when people take it to processors and just like leave a ton of meat on the neck and everywhere else, it's just like these are professionals taking deboning meat and everything off them and leaving all that on the cape, and it's like, what the hell? I get it if you've never done it before, but yeah, I see a lot of crazy shit that comes in.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I had a guy bring me a which he didn't know. He didn't know if the cape was good or not. He's like, I didn't want to cape it in the woods. He sawzalled that deer right in half, like mid body.
That's
like, I don't blame you, man, but it was.
So wait, he come through the door dragging half the torso in?
Drag it out of his truck, and it was sawzalled it right mid body where you usually cape them. Like a good 10 inches behind the shoulders, and like, yeah, I'll try and cape it out. It was starting to stink, but he had shot it and found it 2 days later, and this was like mid-October, so it was like it was kind of iffy, but yeah, that was one of the cooler ones from this year.
That's crazy. Is that one of your craziest stories that you have?
Yeah, this year, yeah, it's this year, but yeah, pretty much for this year. That's it.
Yeah. Hey, that cape wasn't cut up too far though.
No, yeah. I get guys that bring the coyotes and stuff too, and it's they say they shot them or whatever. I'm like, whatever. And then I get to skinning them. I'm like, this thing was hit by a car. This wasn't hit by a bullet at all. Like, this was definitely roadkill. But whatever, it all pays the same. So
yeah, I can imagine with the sawzall situation, have a little bit of edge chatter on that hide.
Yeah,
sawzall back and forth. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's something else. So how's your hunting year this year? What as far as get out in the shop, when you bow hunt locally? How do you do it with your time? How's it work?
This year I didn't really around here. I hunted one day.
Wow.
I think or one full day. I took my little girl out one time just with I got a shack out in the field. You can see it when you come down the driveway there. But I think I went out with her and just took my wife's crossbow, and then I didn't really have a lot of time because really I think November, because I was in Montana hunting for the first week of November, and I got back the 8th or 9th or something like that, and I had like 85 deer come in within that next week until like the November 15th. So I didn't get much done in November.
Yeah, I can imagine it probably crushes your hunting season with everybody. Obviously, at peak archery, you're now. It's like, this is my business, and now I'm crushed with deer coming through the door.
Yeah, that's why I try and get most of my hunting done early as much as I can. Like, I took my grandpa out to Montana. It was a full week out there, and we just had elk and deer tags. He had just an elk tag, but the weather, it was about the same as it was here, and it was like 55. I was walking around in a t-shirt in the mornings after, like, as soon as the sun come up, I was roasting, like hiking that much every day. But yeah, it was, we were in elk every day and within shooting range every morning and sometimes in the evening, but all spikes and cows. I think we ran into, I would say 350 to 400 different elk. Just Ohio guys heading out there. We did pretty good, but I got a decent mule deer the second or third morning, and I had been out there by myself a handful of times, and I never realized there was that many grizzlies in that area until this year. And we seen tracks everywhere, driving down the roads, hiking on the main trail on the way in. The one morning, because we were with an outfit that I'd been with years before, and they were on horseback with my grandpa, and I was just on foot by myself. And I had turned my headlamp off, and they had split off from me off the trailhead. And I turned the other way to go up this hill, and I thought I was following old boot tracks because I was heading in the morning. It's still dark, and I turned my headlamp on after walking a few hundred yards, and it's huge grizzly tracks. I'm like, oh, okay, which is heading the other direction. So
no doubt.
The guys I was with, they ended up running into it. They not real close, but a few hundred yards away. It was eating on the my mule deer pile from the day before. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's a blood rush right there. Like I know I watched black bear Newfoundland skirt up trees in like half a second, and I'm sitting there in this wood rickety stand. Like if they wanted to maul me in any second, they could. But I'll tell you what, the thing that terrifies me is a grizzly. That's one animal that absolutely. I mean, Cape buffalo terrified me, but a grizzly bear terrifies me more. Just sheer power.
Yeah,
incredible.
And the other hunting I really that week and one day here, and I took my grandpa to Alaska last August. Like I said, I try and get my hunting done early. So that was like second week of August, and ran into a bear there too. That was pretty sketchy. I got into I think it was, we were up there for caribou, and it was just like a do-it-yourself drop camp. They drop you off. You're in your own tent. Call us when you're done. You can stay as long as you need. And it was the first morning because I got out the tent and to take a leak, and I seen a handful of caribou pop up over the hill, and they were moving pretty fast. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be pretty easy. So I take off. My grandpa just glassed. He did a lot of glassing just from the tent. He's in his I think he's 76 or 77 now. So he did pretty good for being that old and being out there and it was in the mid to high 30s the whole time, raining, sleeting. I think we had the worst week of weather. Not too many people killed anything that whole week that flew out of the same flight service as we did. But
that's incredible.
I had ran into them caribou like a mile over the hill, and finally caught up with them, and they were running right to me, and it was across a ravine about 200 yards away, and in between me and them was like these alders or whatever they're called up in Alaska, and they're 6 to 8 feet tall or whatever, depending on when I would walk through them. They were always taller than me. I'm only 5'9", 5'10", but there was a pretty big grizzly chasing them, and they're running right to me, and I had lost track where the cows were heading, and they headed down into them alders, and I had hurried up and got my rifle ready. I'm like, well, if he comes through these alders, and he stood within there, it's unbelievably how fast they are. Because I had like 3 seconds, and he was 60, 75 yards from me in them alders, and he stood up, and they were at like his elbows, and he's just looking around to see where them caribou were, and like, hey, I just kind of took a knee. I'm like, I'm not gonna run, you know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah. From
Ohio, I don't know what to do.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, I've heard zigzag, but I don't know. It's like
he ended up dropping right into them alders and following those caribou off. But I never did see him the rest of the trip, and I would try and I headed back as fast as I could because I shit my pants a little bit, but at least go tell me.
I go change and be back.
Like I've been in Alaska for like 6 hours. I already ran into a grizzly bear.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty good trip. I killed my caribou like third or fourth day. It was like 5 miles from the tent. It was pretty sweet.
That
Then
sounds like a great trip.
Yeah, we killed my grandpa's like 1,000 yards from the tent. That was really nice. So
That's cool.
and
I think all those stories you're talking about, I always call them adventures. I think all of us, you get in those points in life where like things happen you didn't anticipate, and you just have to react. And you're like you said, you're like, I don't know what the hell to do right now, but we're gonna send it. We're gonna do something.
yeah,
So you hope it works out in your favor most time.
but yeah, hunting here this year, it was one day during the opening day of gun. I got a decent. He was like mid 140s. He had big brows, and I couldn't really tell. I had trail camera pictures of him, but I was waiting on. I couldn't tell you what. It's hard to judge at 8 points. He's at least mid 150s, and that's pretty
Wow.
damn big for just a nice, clean, tall 8.
Yeah.
And I was waiting on him to come back here. Just out in front of my house here. I hunt, and he never did come back. And I heard the neighbor killed him like a mile down the road. So I was like, well, I don't have much left here. So I went out one day, opening day, going with my old Hawken muzzleloader, and I've never killed anything with it. So I'm like, what the hell? So I ended up getting a mid 140s. I think 9 point. And my nephew had shot his first buck out of the same stand an hour and a half before I did. And I walked out there to help him get his deer. And then I sat my stand and I was done about 2 hours later. It was pretty quick season for me. So
yeah, I understand that. It's amazing how fast that can happen.
Yeah.
Well, Brian and Kevin, anything at last minute questions for Zach here? Or wrap it up.
I got one. Zach, when what do you pride yourself most on when you're doing your mounts? Like every taxidermist says, I'm really proud of this particular. I do this really well all the time on all of my mounts. What do you think your biggest thing is that you're stoked about with your mounts?
I try and beef up the ones that need beefed up. You know what I mean? The big mature. I really like doing those. The ones that are all scarred up, they look like they're about 10, 12 years old. They're the ancient old brutes. That's what I really like to do. And what sets me apart, I think, the detail I put in the eyes and nose, and it's a lot of guys. They're just. I mean, the guy I do a lot of remounts and stuff from. They're not super local, but guys that bring me stuff that need remounted, and they're like a year or two old, and it's just black paint around the eyes and nose and no texture, nothing. I'm like, yeah, that's what you get for being cheap, but that's. Yep. And I'm not like super expensive either, so I try and stay in that medium range where I am pretty busy, and it some years it gets to the point here. I think it's either hire some help or charge a little more and do a little less. It's just still figuring that as I go.
Well, I want to thank you for being on tonight, Zach, and also let everybody out there know if you're in need of a great taxidermist, we use you here at Triple Point for all of our mounts. Does super high quality mounts, a lot of fun to talk to, and overall great guys. So check out Rare Breed Taxidermy in Perrysville, Ohio. And again, this is the Reinvent the Hunt podcast, episode 6. Like, share, and give us a review for Kevin and also Brian and Zach and I. Hope you guys have a great night out there. Next week, turn in. We've got Spy Point trail cameras. We'll check out those spring turkeys and what's going on with deer early season. So come on back next week and check us out. Thanks, everybody.